Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Nerd World, and today more Mirror Universe content. For those of you who are like me and are massive Mirror Universe fanboys and are likely going to the Destination Star Trek down in London next week as a Terran. Probably. Off topic. Anyway. This episode is on a beta canon source, mostly because they're kind of run out of alpha canon ships of the Mirror Universe, which is kind of disappointing, really. But anyway, this is on the Akula class frigate of the Mirror Universe. There are two cited examples, the USS Phobos and the Mirror Universe, ISS Phobos and ISS Renegade, two Imperial star frigates seen in the game Shattered Universe, at least one of them was anyway. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe and comment down below if you're liking the videos on this channel. Please check out my other ones that are listed in the comments below, as well as my new website for my blog and other such things that are on there. With all that said, let's get started on this video. The Akula class frigate was the successor to the very successful Saladin class frigate, which by this point had become a little long in the tooth by the 2270s in both the Prime Universe and in the Mirror Universe where the Terran Empire ruled. The Saladin class had seen better days and was slowly being converted into a ship of auxiliary purposes and other uses. Starfleet needed a more modern ship to add to their arsenal in the ever-expanding frontiers of the Empire, and this ship, amongst others, was the solution. The Akula class, named for the Russian submarine of the same name in the 20th and 21st centuries, named itself after the Russian word for shark, was to live up to its name. This vessel, at 229 meters in length, with its arsenal of 5 dual phaser banks and 2 photon torpedo launchers, was a heavily armed ship for its size. It had a crew that could vary, but generally as a standard it was a crew of approximately 80 personnel, but in the Mirror Universe this would also likely have seen embarked soldiers such as Makos and enhanced security forces aboard the ship at any given time. The vessel also had auxiliary craft including work bees, shuttles and of course fighter interceptors that were useful for both scouting missions as well as auxiliary tactical purposes, supporting the larger vessel or battle group that it was part of. These included screening against other small craft, reconnaissance missions, intelligence gathering, as well as simply having additional targets for an enemy to shoot at to save the bigger ship. Go the Empire. These vessels were built in number by the Empire, but we do only know of 2 of them by name. That was the ISS Renegade, which escorted the ISS Excelsior to safe haven after it was accosted by Klingon raiders within the confines of the Terran Empire. The Renegade would escort the ship after driving off a Klingon battlecruiser and help get it to safety and see its repairs done, at which point the vessel would simply warp away and return to its patrol duties, likely going to hunt down the subhuman Klingon scum that had dared to trespass in the vaulted Terran Imperial space and attack one of the Imperial Majesty's starships. The other vessel, the ISS Phobos, was a vessel attached to an attack wing in association with the ISS Enterprise, NCC 1701A, under the command of Commander Chekhov. By this point, the Empire become aware that Sulu had attempted something of a coup d'etat against the Empire, and although the Mirror Universe Sulu had now been transported into the Prime Universe, they weren't to know that, and the ISS Enterprise was now under the command of Captain Sulu from the USS Enterprise, but that didn't matter to the Empire. Chekhov's orders were to recover the vessel at all costs, use whatever means necessary to do so. Preferably the vessel was to be recaptured and its crew arrested, but if they put up too much resistance, the vessel had to be destroyed to prevent it falling into the hands of the Klingon Empire, who would have learned all of its secrets as well as its advanced tactical capabilities, and this was something that was unacceptable, not to mention a bunch of Terran turncoats who would likely sell out the Empire to save their own skin, which would be very Terran and likely would happen, so the Empire had a point on this one. These vessels would attack the Excelsior, but would see a little worse for wear in it, as the Excelsior class battlecruiser was a substantially more powerful ship. The ship overall, as I said, was 229 meters in length. Unlike its Saladin-class predecessor, the vessel had two warp nacelles rather than a singular one dropping from the ventral side of the hull. It had a ventral and a dorsal warp nacelle extending from a pylon from the main hull. Nestled between the primary hull and the ventral nacelle was a torpedo pod, as well as auxiliary area of the ship, which contained armories, additional weapons ports, as well as things like secondary shuttles. This gave the vessel a substantial power boost. I mean, in the Empire, it's reasonable to assume that all the tactical systems and support systems were superior to those in the Prime universe, although there is no evidence to suggest that the two vessels in both universes were not of equal firepower. Terran weapons were often seen to be substantially more powerful, so although both vessels had a grand total of 10 phasers, the Terran versions would have had greater redundancy and greater power reserves, and that entire pod, more likely in the Terran version, would have housed substantially more torpedoes, as well as armories, and training areas for the crew, as well as likely additional fighter craft. As the Terrans, as I said, they carried shuttles, work beasts, but they also carried fighters, and you need somewhere to put them, as well as the machinery and supplies and support areas to maintain them, train the pilots, and generally repair them from battle, maybe even build new ones if you lose one. And there we have it, the Akula class frigate of the Imperial Starfleet Terran Empire. Were you aware of this vessel? Let me know in the comments below. It's from the game Shattered Universe rather, and it's an excellent game. If you've never played it, it's for the original Xbox where I played it, I think, and yeah, well worth a go. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below if you made it all the way to this video. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.